about that decision.
Yeah.
I mean, to them.
I really like the ones that say C.
Matthew,
That stuff's good.
act natural.
So what my dad was talking about, so I tried to pursue
I don't know how to Zoom yet.
them, and he
Looking to see if there's a way to.
Let's do this. It's probably right under your index fingers.
Probably. Hey, Beth.
You usually put them in there.
Okay, let me see if I can find the Zoom
You
here.
accidentally like motion all that.
Let's see here. I think that's it. Aha!
Your video. My brother.
Close up of John.
Person did video with their camera. And they said, among lots of things they said to do, you got high quality video. Like make sure whoever's doing it doesn't do anything or anything like that.
Does this make people uncomfortable, do you think?
What?
Let's zoom out of...
Whatever gave you that idea. Does it record sound too?
Yeah, so it's recording everything we're saying.
If you take an high school, you can have a zoom in a shot.
If you want to make really good points, I go over to the grandparents' table and get the
Super
grandparents.
intentional.
Yeah, good idea.
You want a tripod. Even painting.
They didn't have a raspberry.
Hi there.
So if you were eating your own something strange.
Bricklink.com. Bricklink is something really weird. It seems like that. That was also.
And now we come to Wigan and we put our dresses on there. We talked about the lighthouse. We probably should see that. Oh, steamer. I steamed.
We never went to one of John's away games, and yet we live a mile from the college. And Charlie.
Does that mean we don't love John?
Charlie and Karen live 3,000 miles away, and they would show up at the drop of a notice. So I knew right away that they were loved. I also knew that Kelly was a thankful person. I have a short little story about that one. I really like to do calligraphy, and so does Kelly, just like her mom. This has beautiful calligraphy that she does. And so when I wanted to write her a thank you note, I decided I would write it in calligraphy for her. And I sent her a thank you note, and so she sent me a thank you for the thank you. And so I promised, but I didn't carry it out, that I would thank her for the thank you for the thank you. And this is it. So there's no doubt in my mind that Kelly is a thankful person. And she's also a joyful person.
Yes.
You know, here at here on the West Coast, apparently, calling her Kelly Joy is a common thing. But at Messiah, she was known as Kelly, and I didn't even know her middle name was Joy until, I guess, when they were engaged. And And so it was a surprise to me that her middle name was Joy, but it was not a surprise that she was joyful. And I thought I would mention one little story about that. One of the first times I had this sneaking suspicion that John was interested in her was the fact that on a Sunday afternoon at the volleyball, at the juggling club, which John was the founder of and president of Messiah College's juggling club, Kelly would come to juggle, and I wasn't sure whether she was really interested in juggling. But I did notice that somehow with all of the people that were there, that John seemed to spend a lot of time helping her, holding her hand and saying, "This is the way to throw the ball. This is the way to throw the ball." He would talk about it, do it in a smooth arc, no jerky motions and things like that. And he would kind of stand behind her and help. So, but this is on the theme of her joy, and the answer was that was when I noticed that she was joyful, because she had a big grin. All right. Well, now a few words about my son, about whom I could say more, having known him longer. John is not only named after his grandfather, but John is also means gift of God. And he was our surprise. And so we really did think of him as God's gift to us. And so of our three children, he was the spontaneous, impulsive, risk-taking, fun-loving fellow. And I'm not, as you can tell by the fact that I'm reading notes instead and fun-loving and so on. And just to give you an example, we would often call him when he was little Tigger, as in A.A. Milne's story about Pooh and so on. He was our Tigger, the bouncy one, the one who bounced. We used to tell him, "You're taking up too much psychological space."
And he understood.
John is generous and thoughtful, and I wanted to tell you two stories which I know I'll not be able to tell without crying, but I figured if you can't cry here, where can you cry? One is that his good friend Dan Califano died, a fellow about John's age, and at the year's anniversary of Dan's death, he went to visit the Califanos and to express his condolences and say, "I know it's been a year since his death, and I want to say that I'm praying for you and standing with you," and so on. And the thing about this is that he's not the kind whose generosity and thoughtfulness is something that he wears on his sleeve. So we had to find out about that by Mrs. Califano telling Emily, and so we kind of heard about it in a kind of a roundabout way. And a similar thing happened also recently. John's bus driver, the same bus driver who was the bus driver for our oldest son and our daughter, so she had been a bus driver for 25 years, and with a accident-free record, and one day she accidentally backed over a kindergarten student and killed her. And she was absolutely devastated, and John went to her house and prayed with her. And the only way I found out about that was the fact that in due time, as I had opportunity, I went to her as well, and I found out that she said, "Oh, you're John's dad. He came by and prayed for me." But I didn't find out about it from John because his thoughtfulness isn't the kind of thing that he brags about. He's also thankful. We have just like Kelly, we have a book that sits at our dining room table called our Thank You Book, and we encourage our guests and ourselves to write in it every day so that we can have a thankful spirit. And when it's time for John, when John is home, we've only been doing it for about 3 years now, so it started after we got to college, after he left for college. When he would come home and it was time to write in the thank you book, we would be thinking about what significant major thank you thing we could mention that would be a significant thing to write in the book, and John would say, I'm thankful for, and then he'd say, ballpoint pens, and the piano, and he'd look around and the chandelier, and I'm thankful for the chair, and and from some people that would be a signal of, I really don't have anything to be thankful for, so I'm trying to invent something. But in John's case, it was because he truly is thankful for everything. And I just admire that spirit, and it's not the spirit that I have. Well, of course, he loves Kelly, and where I first found that out was that when they were about to go on a missions trip to Japan, and Kelly was to be the leader of the Japanese trip, and John was to come along on a missions trip. And so there was a team of, 4 or 5 students from Messiah College. And when they began to fill out the forms, it turns out that the forms said, because it's Japan and because we don't have time to train you cross-culturally in how to behave in amorous relationships, if any of you on the team have an amorous relationship, then by all means discuss it with the mission, because you won't be allowed to go. And John said, I'm not sure I can go. And so I thought, oh, he has an amorous relationship. Well, they tried to work it out, and it didn't work out, so John became the team leader, and Kelly went back to Ecuador, and so they each had a missions experience that summer. But it wasn't just a matter of talk, it was a matter of, he could have kind of bent the rules and said, well, we'll pretend we don't, but he valued his love for Kelly enough that he decided that he would tell the truth, even if it meant he couldn't go to Japan with her. And even though she and he and Emily and I really believed that he was mature enough to have behaved properly in that cross-cultural setting, but the mission in Japan didn't trust young whippersnappers like John in that respect there. All right. When John was asked at one occasion about his love for Kelly, he said that it grew slowly. And that's the kind of love that I trust, where it wasn't just a flash in the pan, it grew slowly. In fact, he asked me one day, he says, I don't know anything negative about Kelly, is that normal? And I said, I didn't know anything about my wife when I married her either. All right. Well, John not only means gift from God, it also means gift to God. And that's what we have wanted to do with our children, to offer them as a gift to God. So it's really significant to me because of the fact, now listen up, Pastor Dave Hall, this is for you.
Magic taking notes right
Oh, okay.
That's for the message.
Am I helping you write your message for tomorrow?
Right. Carry on.
It was significant to me when he said that he was marrying Kelly and that it was going to be in a Christian Missionary Alliance here, a church here in Reading. And the reason that it was significant to me is that I, as a 10-year-old boy, stood for the first time in a little Christian Missionary Alliance church on Long Island in New York and said that I was committing my life to Christ. And so that was when I said I would give the things that God gave to me to God. And I meant
ceremony may go forward now.
So I meant it when I was 10, and I mean it today, that I offer John as a gift to God. And I'm glad that I'm able to do that. So I love you guys. All right. Are you thankful?
Thank you, Gene. I just want to begin by saying some thank yous. I was going to
calculate out the total number of miles represented by just the people in this room in terms of travel. But realizing that I'm in a company with some pretty high-powered mathematicians, realized I would probably